Yeah, there you go. There we go.
Okay. Now I can see whatever we see.
Because that
There you
person
are.
you can never see.
That's
There's
you.
something there.
Yeah.
No, you can never see you.
That's why I'm here. Years of careful planning to.
Welcome to Lansing Online News Radio. You're listening to WLNZ LCC Radio 89.7 here in Lansing, Michigan. I am Bonnie Buckaroo, and I am soon to be joined by my co-host Bill Castanier. It's going to be an exciting night tonight. We're going to talk politics. We're going to have a lot of fun. We have two guests this evening. We have Roman Collins, who is the local coordinator for the Move to Amend campaign. He's going to talk to us a bit about his success with Lansing City Council. We're also going to be joined by Ray Walsh, talking about the antiquarian books and paper show that's coming up at the Lansing Civic Center. But first, I wanted to ask you, Bill, as we were having so much fun that we almost forgot to put the show on here.
Put the show on. We need an engineer.
We do need an engineer.
And I was listening to the music in there, and I almost forgot to push the button to put the show on.
Well, and I would invite people, if you would like to see our webcast, we live webcast at the same time. You go to ustream.tv, or the easiest way actually is just to go to lansingonlinenews.com, and you'll find that we have an embedded viewer there where you can't see that much. It's a little tiny webcam screen, but you can see all of our guests as we confer, and it might be a good way to listen to the show as well. But I did have to start off with the news that broke this afternoon from Campusville. I don't know if you have been to Gawker.
Oh, yeah, and I saw it on, of course, I learned about it on Facebook first.
Is that where you saw it first?
Yes.
Yeah. And you went straight to Gawker?
Yes.
And you saw the cell phone photo of the poor math prof. Kind of a portly gentleman, naked, handcuffed in the hallway.
Sitting in the hall. Fortunately, it's not a full frontal.
No, but I was thankful
It
the
was
picture
sad.
was blurry.
It
Yeah.
was sad.
I originally saved the picture, posted it, and then thought, the guy's life's going to be tough enough. I'll just leave to the story. He apparently kind of cracked in math class today and took off all of his clothes and began spewing profanities at the students. And I was saying to you earlier, Bill, I said, that's what I always wanted to do when I was taking math.
Oh, yeah, when I was a student in, calculus, I did crack up, I think.
Yeah. So imagine what it does to the practice.
Oh, years and years of teaching finally caught up with him, I guess.
That's too bad. But it was kind of sad, and I thought in this era, it really shows what happens because everyone has a cell phone.
See, that's only supposed to happen to literary people. Like Theodore Roethke, who taught at Michigan State University, that then went on to win 2 Pulitzer Prizes and a National Book Award, I think. He went crazy on campus. And
Ours?
Ours, yes. He didn't work long there.
For that reason?
Yeah, that reason. He drank a little bit too much, and he didn't watch his meds, and he was out on a ledge in one of the buildings, so they put him in custody. See, for literary people, that's okay. Get another job right away.
Well, that's a pretty good indicator. I mean, I always kind of wanted to be a little bit more crazy because I thought it might make me more talented. There does seem to be that connection.
It was, man, I felt sad about that.
Right,
It's getting so much attention.
You're the book guy. Is there sort of a connection between you and Bill both watch authors? Is there this connection between creativity and going a little starkers now and then?
Well, it does happen from time to time. Eugene Izzy was Eugene Izzy was a mystery writer who fell to his death outside of a building in Chicago, and they don't know whether he was trying to research a story or whether he just jumped. And all of a sudden, his book started selling.
There's a lot of suicides among authors, and drug abuse and alcoholism.
Yeah. I keep thinking.
And even lottery winners.
Well, lottery winners too. Yes, it's that honey boo boo syndrome.
I felt sorry about that today.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not into reading those kind of stories, I guess. I don't take any pleasure out of them.
No. I mean, it's worth a laugh in the sense that I can understand how when your students drive you nuts, you might want to tear your hair out, pull your clothes off, and start yelling at them. I mean, it could be a pretty.
And it said he was an eccentric professor. I'd like to know more about what that means, because I certainly had a lot of eccentric professors on campus.
That connection between eccentricity and MSU professorship, I think, is a fairly strong one as well. We've had a few characters on campus, probably me included. I always enjoy having a good time over there.
Al Mendelstam, do you remember him, Ray? He taught economics.
Yeah.
Very advanced economics professor at MSU. He was noted. He was one of the first professors to use educational TV, and he'd teach maybe 8 sessions that way.
Wow.
They were huge. He'd do it in front of an audience, and he'd do things. He'd get us to take his shirt off and wave and scream and holler.
Wow.
But he was an amazing professor.
See, yeah.
He was an amazing. I mean, kids learned. If you got a 4 point in that class, you had a lifetime recommendation.
Oh, did you?
Just send him a note and he'd send it.
Wow.
And he was tough.
Wow.
I did not get a 4 point.
You didn't get a 4 point, so you never got his red.
No.
Oh. See, I love Lash LaRue.
Lash is another way up. Another economic. I think mostly economics, maybe.
One of the kindest people is Mordecai Krynen, who was an economics prof over there. I was a fledgling journalist out to do one of my original first stories and needed information on economics, and he was extremely patient with me. Just wonderful. I mean, I do think that's a nice nest of people over there.
Oh, I think so. And MSU had the president of the university came from it at one time.
Well, this week is also going to be notable for the fact that we will have our first presidential debate on Wednesday night. And I think the amount of hot air expended prior to the debate will only be equaled by the amount of hot air that will be expended after the debate, analyzing it. I almost think you could skip the debate and just go straight to the analysis.
Or listen to the tweets.
That's debatable.
Oh, yeah?
Tweets. Just tweet. Just listen to it. Or read the tweets.
Read the tweets. I have to adjust my Twitter feed, though, because I use Hootsuite and I also use TweetDeck. And I have now followed so many people that it goes by in a blur when something like the debate comes up.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, the debates to me is too much lead up.
Too much lead up.
And they're all discounting how terrible, I'm such a terrible debater, I can't possibly win.
Lowering the expectations.
Oh, yeah. There's been some notable debates.
There have been.
And maybe we'll see that tomorrow. But Romney has to go for something, though.
Well,
he may go all out.
The reports, and no one can understand why his debate team decided to leak this because it's not to their advantage, but they have done so. They've said that since August he's been practicing zingers. Now that's not a smart thing to say, because then you have the chattering class waiting to say and analyze at the end, well, that was a rehearsed remark, well, that was a rehearsed remark. And then that takes away from any joke that it might have had. That's a dumb thing for them to have done.
So he's had to practice that long.
Yes.
They're going to be real zingers.
Well, it seems like the biggest a mistake that any candidate can make is to get really angry. Or do what George Bush Sr. did, which was to look at your watch and look bored. So you have to
get caught on camera.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to be on camera.
You have to look faux engaged, but not somebody that will get irritated and mouth off at the other person. But they're going to try to dig it under Obama's skin.
Oh, they have to.
Yeah.
I mean, they absolutely have to. But whether he can do it, I'm not sure. I've not watched any of his debates.
Well, but think of it this way. If they could train Sarah Palin like a seal with salmon bait, I mean, maybe they could do it with Romney. I don't know what they'd use as bait, but I mean, they got Sarah Palin to the point she did a really good job in that debate.
She was excellent.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm assuming they could do the same with Romney, couldn't they?
We're going to see. I'm not positive.
Those of you who haven't done so may want to friend Dope Bloss, who's been a guest on the show, because he has debate bingo online. And he's listed a whole bunch of words, and you get to vote as to whether Romney, Obama, or neither will say them during the debate. And so it's kind of interesting. What's your prediction as to what will be the big issue? Will they be able to trip anybody else?
Does this one have a theme, though?
This is...
I forgot it.
It's not foreign affairs. I think it's...
See, I think foreign affairs is going to be the most interesting one.
I do, too. This is a unique format, though. This one's on ABC, and you can talk without time limits. It's going to be more informal, and I don't know who that benefits. I mean...
Romney, probably.
Do you? You think so?
Obama tends to go on too long. I mean,
he does.
I mean, if I was his debate coach, I'd say start thinking about cutting it off early.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
The sort of the knock on him is that he's professorial and aloof, if they can do anything to reinforce that. But somebody said what Obama should say is, gee, Mitt, take all the time you want and tell us exactly, your vice presidential candidate just said that your budget plan would take too long to explain. Take all the time you want. Tell us all the tax loopholes you're going to get rid of, like maybe the home mortgage deduction, because boy, if he tampers with the home mortgage deduction, that would be the end of his campaign immediately, I would think.
Be interesting to see. I think Obama will be extremely careful because that's who he is.
Yeah.
But sometimes Romney, as we've seen recently, takes risks that he probably shouldn't, and they don't come off quite right.
That's why I wouldn't think he'd be a very good candidate to deliver zingers.
No, I don't think he is. I don't think he's good at that at all. I'm not.
If he was delivering Zingerman, that'd be
Zingerman's, yeah. Zingerman's actually should get involved in a debate.
They should.
It would be funny.
They should run ads around it. Yeah. But this is going to be the Jim Lehrer debate. Jim Lehrer is the person asking the questions, and he's good. I mean, I think he's
tough.
Yeah,
he can ask some tough questions, but the thing is, will he?
Well, that's it, because they have thin skin sometimes themselves, and they get so critiqued afterwards. I think that Lehrer is going to have to put Romney on the spit, though, and get him to explain. Does this mean that he plans to raise taxes on that 40% that they use as a bunch of freeloaders? Yep. And does it mean senior citizens? Does that mean students, working poor, or veterans? Which group are you going to raise taxes on? And I can't see that as a possibility.
I hope he doesn't duck that question. It's the most obvious question to ask is, what are you going to do to the 47%?
He can't have a good answer, though, can he?
Well, I mean, the answer you'll do is that supply side economics.
Well, but that's not for tax hikes.
Yeah, seeing that.
He wants to.
They'll
make
more money. See, they'll be able to make more money. The jobs will be better.
No, but that's for tax cuts. That's what supply side.
Yeah, that's the top, right?
Yeah, right.
The top.
But he's talking about wanting to broaden the tax base, which means increasing the taxes on those people who aren't paying.
And decreasing the taxes on the wealthiest.
Which coincidentally are actually paying a lot of taxes anyway.
The
supposed people who are
the freeloader, the 47, they're paying gas tax and property
sales tax.
See, that's Obama's answer.
Tax.
Yeah,
Obama's answer. And I'm sure they've got the details exactly how much that 47% pays in taxes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's going to be exciting. I've got two groups of students, two of my classes. We're going to be watching the debate together on Wednesday night. For many of my students, it will be their first election, so this will be interesting. I am surprised at the level of apathy on campus, plus the fact I think they made it so difficult for students to vote now. You know, they have to go back and either switch their driver's license to here, all that kind of thing. They made it increasingly difficult for students to vote, but I think it's
especially freshmen who don't want to do that. They're likely to go home during the summer.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Well, they want to keep their home address.
So I'd like to go back to the debate for a second.
Yeah.
Some other issues that might be discussed is there's plenty of other environmental groups who gave signatures to Laurier. I think it was like 140,000 to ask a question about climate change.
I saw that today.
And then there was another move to amend is actually trying to get him to ask a question about whether either of the candidates believe that corporations are people, if money is speech, and what they plan to do to further, their agenda on that issue. So I hope, that they both answer that, and I think
they will.
That would,
because they're both guilty.
No. Well, to be fair, the president did come out in favor of a, constitutional amendment a little while ago, but Romney famously thinks corporations are people. So it'll be interesting to see what they have to say if he even asks the question at all. I mean, I'd like to hear more from the president about what he thinks about specifically whether corporations are people and money is speech.
Well, I think this election we're going to see how much money talks.
Oh yeah.
We're going to see it at not just the national level. I mean, if Romney does not do well on Wednesday night, the smart money is that the big money people like the Carl Rhodes of the world will pull their money from the presidential race and go down ballot races.
Because just a fun fact, Sheldon Adelson he gave $100 million to the, it's going to be more probably, and he gave an average of 12 stadiums full of small Romney and Obama donors who donate about $94 each. And so that, if you think about that, the population of Lansing, Michigan is 114,000 people. And so,
but will his money move from the national campaign to the down ballot races? Because then it's a lot harder to track. But it could have an even greater and more significant input because with Obama, I think the odds are fairly strong. Nate Silver, who is, I must say, a local boy makes good who has his, is it 238, 438? What's the number? 238 blog on the New York Times for his blog.
I think it's 4 something.
438?
Yeah.
Okay. He does a remarkable job of following the polls and predicting, and he really has it at 80-20 right now, the odds that Obama will be.
Yeah, he handicaps it.
Yes, he does.
He's got a formula.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an algorithm. I think it's one that he just fills in boxes.
So what does Las Vegas say?
Well, I don't know. I haven't been watching that, but I have been watching the right because they have decided that all the polls were wrong. For the first time in recorded history, I mean, they now do not believe in science, and they've now decided they don't believe in math either. That's kind of handy for them because even the Fox poll says that Obama's in the lead, and now they don't believe the Fox poll because they say it's a liberal conspiracy.
Didn't they already decide that a long time ago?
Oh yeah, but they've opened up this new site. It's called unskewedpolls.com, and it's giving protective cover, and it's got highly scientific.
Is that kind of like their thing with fighting against chloroform?
It's got highly sophisticated mathematical algorithms like this poll doesn't look right to me. And we all know that went over really big in math class when I tried it.
As we get closer to the election, the polls get better. We're 1 month out, so
right.
They're starting to look pretty good.
Yeah. This is
another week, and they're going to look real good.
Well, we'll see. It'll take about a week, I think, after the debate, too, to see what the real effect will be. This idea that there's instant effect the next day, often the pundits are completely wrong, and the public opinion is very different on what they think they saw. So it'll take about a week to shake out. This is LCC Radio, WLNZ 89.7 here in Lansing, Michigan. So what are your predictions if Obama gets a second term? What will be his priorities? He's going to be a lame duck. What issues do you think he will focus his energies on? Roman, what do you hope? You hope for?
Well, I hope that, definitely he'll come out in support of, amending the Constitution, in a way that supports move to amend more specifically, although he did call for mobilizing a grassroots movement to amend the Constitution, which is basic. It's really what move to amend is about. My hopes are that he becomes more progressive. In my opinion, he's a moderate. As an environmentalist, I hope that he decides, that drilling in the Arctic is not the way to go, and that coal is not really that clean of a source of energy, as he said in this debate, and that maybe fracking is not a good idea either.
Well, I think, too, the Supreme Court picks that he makes would be extremely important. He's likely, with Ruth Bader Ginsburg's age and other possibilities. I mean, there are always people step down for one reason or another, accident, illness, family issues. He could end up with as many as 2 or 3 or even 4 nominees to the court during a second term, and I would think that that's where you might see a shift from corporations as people. Right now, we have a very corporate court. Could make a huge difference. We have all these justices in their late 70s.
Plus, he'll get all the regional federal judges too.
Oh yeah.
Their districts. There's always turnover in there is pretty high, frankly. I think he's going to be focused on foreign affairs.
Well, he won't have much choice.
I don't think he'll have a choice.
Sad but true.
I don't. I think what we see now is normal, not abnormal.
Right. No, I agree with you. Now, do you think that these latest allegations that they were intentionally wrong on Benghazi because they didn't want to admit to terrorism and that doesn't make sense to me?
No.
Not the president who can say we got Bin Laden.
No, that's dumb.
Yeah.
He would have come right out and said it was terrorism. We need to up the ante or something. No, I don't think that's him.
No.
He wouldn't have said that.
A lot of people I know are hoping that he will make the move to decriminalize medical marijuana and other drugs. He's shown no signs of it. In fact, he's been absolutely
I don't think
president.
I don't think that's the case.
I don't either. And I'm disappointed in that, but I think it would be the smartest move domestically just in terms of costs. Being able to shift costs from prisons to schools would be a smart move in this era. That's a necessary move, so I'd like to see that. The other thing that I would like to see is a renewed emphasis on protecting a woman's right to choose, because I do think that is one of, I think women are going to be able to claim that if he gets a second term, we're the ones who brung him. And he better leave the dance with us, because I'm seeing more and more efforts to just, like we're seeing in the state of Michigan here, to roll back. Even if we win at the national level, the states are chipping away at abortion to the point where it's becoming almost impossible to get one. It's legal on the books, but it's impossible to get one in reality. The big thing, I think, in Michigan is if we do have a lame duck, if we do have a shift in one of the two houses here in Michigan, that lame duck session before January, when the new people come in, could be just a firestorm of stuff going through here, rat-a-tat-tat, because they don't, they could lose control of everything.
Sure, and I think that's why, as Ray Holman said last week, organized labor is worried.
Oh, yeah.
They can see a right to work state if that ballot issue doesn't pass.
Romney is such an enigma, because at the national level, if something happened and he got in, would we have national right to work? Would we have rollback of Roe v. Wade? Would we really have this much of a sea change on all those social issues? Would he get rid of, don't ask, don't tell? He insists he would. I don't know. Is he in such a box he'd have to do it?
Why wouldn't he do it?
Because I don't think he really is that kind of person, but I guess we don't know what kind of person he is.
I think he is. I think he's very socially conservative.
Do you?
Extremely. He's like our governor. He hides it well.
See, now I think he's still more of his mother-in-law's son, and he may be more socially moderate than. But I think he puts on the mask because, as a good businessman, he does whatever it takes to close the deal. And if that's what it takes to close the deal, I mean, I've been lied to by good business people all along. That's part of good business strategy.
It'll be interesting to see it. Well, if that happens, that's one of the alternatives.
Well, one of the other things we need to remember to talk about, two other things I want to bring up. Now, Bill, you said that the Lansing Historical Society auction. Before I forget, I want to make sure that I get this.
It's this Saturday.
This Saturday. Okay.
4 to 7 at the Old Michigan Theater. It's now the Michigan Atrium. There's about 100 items that'll go on the block. Well, not a block because it's a silent auction. So blocks are much more fun.
They are.
So there's everything imaginable, from trips to someone like Ray Walsh, who's donated 1 hour appraisal time to look at some of these old books or paper and ephemera. Bill Triola has done the same thing with antiques. We've got some unique ones. One that was written up in the paper this week is the opportunity to bid on not a night at the museum, but a private tour of the MSU storage facility, museum storage facility.
Oh, with
all the strange things in there. And there are really weird things in there.
Quite fascinating.
Yeah? Have you been in there? Oh, what's in there? Tell us.
There's too much stuff to describe.
You turn every little corner or every shelf, there's something odd. I mean, maybe it's not odd, but a lot of it's pop culture.
Wow.
The last time I was in there, a woman had donated like a dozen dresses that she'd wore to junior hops back in the 50s here at MSU.
Oh, those will look nice in the new Broad.
Speaking of the Broad.
I don't think so. No kidding.
I tried to get it out of a few people this weekend what the first exhibit is.
Yeah.
No, they're not talking.
They're not talking?
No, there's an announcement coming and it'll be a big deal. But
what's the opening date?
November 9th.
Well, that's close.
9th and 10th. I think there's a media day and then open to the public on the Saturday. It's getting close.
Are they going to keep it a secret till opening day?
No, they couldn't do that, I don't think.
Have they given us a roster of events?
No, nothing.
Nothing?
Not a thing, no. Mm-mm.
I was looking earlier, I was walking, I teach a class in a building behind there, that side building on Wednesdays, and I was walking and seeing the back side of the building. And there's all sorts of dirt, literally, up at the top. And I wondered, is this going to be hard to clean? And I also noticed there were
those are the birds' nests.
Birds' nests? No, not that many. No, it looked like sawdust, but it can't be. It looked like maybe debris of some sort.
At least they have the windows in properly.
That's important.
Ray brings up a good point, though. There's hardly been a building built that has become a nesting place for birds of some kind. They always find a place.
I want to see one on that spiky points. They're going to be balanced on the end for those. So we know nothing.
Not really. I don't think. I know no one knows, except a few. A handful of people, obviously.
Well,
one would be Mr. Broad.
Yeah, I think they're putting together a program that they will announce it, but they want it to be on their terms.
Apparently so.
And you can't really blame them. Because,
But it seems late.
Well, they want to focus it, I suspect. Either they're still working on it.
Get a big pump, maybe. Maybe they're still dickering for some big.
Well, they've got to be installing right now. 1 month out? Oh, that's got to be installing. Yeah, they have to be.
Well, you know who I think they should give the centerpiece to, of course, is my friend Henry Burmer with his Gravity Matters Little, which is the art prize thing that hangs between the two buildings over there in Grand Rapids. I was very pleased to see that the citizens of Grand Rapids voted it one of the top 25 exhibits over there. Tell us a little bit about the piece itself.
Well, it's 8 or 9 foot tall. It's like a human being hanging from a wire, suspended. But I just learned today it's got a video cam in it. So you can
webcam.
So you can see the skyline of Grand Rapids. I did not know that. I'm wondering where that is, where they're feeding it.
Right.
I'm gonna have to look.
Shouldn't we be able to see that on some website?
Oh, absolutely. I think he would be smart. I know he's smart enough to do that.
Oh, Henry is smart.
I'd like to see that in Lansing.
Yes.
Because I don't think it's going to win.
Probably not, but it should.
I don't know why.
But the city of Lansing should buy it and
hang it between the two banks.
Yeah.
Downtown. It would be pretty cool.
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be wonderful. Yeah, we need something.
You know, wherever it goes, it's going to be a signature piece.
It is. Well, he was very clever. Last year he did his little pieces over there, and you got to assemble little pieces of, they were sort of wooden block type pieces. I mean, he's an extraordinarily creative man, and he teaches advertising in Michigan State and the college that I'm in, and he inspires his students to do great things. And it's nice to see that he's still doing wonderful work himself.
Oh, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I did not know he was doing that, and when I saw it online, people started talking about it, I thought, wow, this is pretty spectacular. In fact, that's the one I remember.
Right.
The others I remember less.
You went there, didn't you?
Yeah.
And what did you think?
Well, it's a spectacular event. There's no question about it. And it's gotten better every year. And now where they have divided the public choice versus a jury choice, I think that was really smart.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're going to get a better end result from the jurors.
So how is the money split then?
I think it's equal. I think it's like maybe $250,000 each or something like that. It's equal.
Because, I've always had my doubts about my idea is, why don't we tax those millionaires and billionaires, use that money for the arts, and then let the public actually have a say in what happens? I know he thinks it's democratic to let them vote, but again, now he's been pressured to add a jury, so it doesn't seem to me that it's all that democratic.
Well, the jury was added because I think it was last year's selection was a crucifix,
wasn't it?
Both
years?
something like
couple years?
Yeah, so there was a little bit of a pushback about that.
Yeah. It's Grand Rapids, and that's the community that it would likely draw, and I mean, it's very hard. I think a keen painting with, kids with large eyes would do very well over there, so, I mean.
Elvis.
Velvet Elvis. It would be nice to see $250,000 go to a Velvet Elvis.
Well, I think we're going to have these same kind of discussions when we learn what's going into the Broad, because that's what art's about.
It is.
I mean, and modern art especially. I mean, he could open that piece. I say, Broad. I know in L.A. he's got one exhibit that was a very, very large room with a video playing in the center of it. It's modern art.
Yeah.
And we don't think of traditional, so it could be.
I wonder how that will play here.
Oh, I don't think it will. I think it'll be well.
East Lansing kind of looking, the business people of East Lansing kind of looking forward to seeing what happens, because they're hoping it will draw a lot of people.
Oh, okay. The locals may not be the real audience. It'll be people from elsewhere.
We're talking about busloads of people coming not only to see the architecture, but to see what we're doing.
Oh, really?
And,
where would those busloads be coming from? I don't know.
Detroit, Chicago, Ann Arbor.
Seniors.
They've got art prize over there. They want to travel so far. Is there going to be a corridor from Ann Arbor or Portland, Oregon? Portlandia is going to come to East.
Well, it's hard to say. It wouldn't surprise me if some of the bus lines would have tours, and they're planning on having buses coming in.
Huh.
And it's not. They're not talking one or two. They're talking about on a regular basis.
This is LCC Radio, WLNZ 89.7 here in Lansing, Michigan. We're talking with Ray Walsh from the Curious Bookstore, and he's going to be hosting the Antiquarian Book and Paper Show at the Lansing Center this weekend with Roman Collins, who's the local director of Move to an End. And the one item before we talk about their specific issues that I'd like to ask about is this new rebranding of Michigan Avenue as either the Ave or the Avenue. Is that a smart move?
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to use that, so is it hip? Yeah.
Are we trying to make the ad cool? Is that the plan?
I think Old Town, for example.
Yeah, I like
a lot of it was building on that name long before it was really Old Town. I mean, it's a totally different thing than it was 12, 13, 14 years ago. And it's certainly better because the stores are occupied now.
Yeah.
But I think neighborhoods need an identity.
I do too.
And you think of all the big cities.
I suppose Frumpy came in second.
Yeah, real second. Well, think of the opportunity on Michigan Avenue because it is Frumpy.
It is.
Oh, it's like a what would you call it? A retail ghetto? I don't know.
Well, it's a lot better than it was 20 years ago before the stadium was built.
The stadium
There's a big stretch between.
Yeah.
That's
but there is that sort of, I think, the sort of stadium image with the lofts on the other side of the street. And now I guess a Big B is going to take over where the Great Lakes Chocolate was previously. But now we see the other lofts over there that are now called Avenue Flats with the subway down below. There's that sort of brick look, brick loft kind of.
I understand Don Wired Cafe is going to be renaming itself as the Avenue.
The Avenue Cafe. Yeah. They've got a new painting out in front.
Well, I was just there. It looks like it's in the process of becoming a very nice bar.
It is indeed. I mean, it's a full service bar. It's liquor, not just beer and wine. So it's a real bar, and that's what they're going to be doing. I think, though, that part of Michigan Ave's charm has always been those sort of squirrely little shops in between that are
because
so much fun.
They're in houses and things like that, and there's a low entrance rate.
Yeah.
Costs very little to get in, something like that.
And I think a lot of that is, we're the only ones that have like a United Nations shop.
For the longest time.
Lots of yarn shops and strange hair places.
And I think that can still happen.
I'm hoping.
If they intersperse housing in between all those places.
Housing of,
lofts? Yeah, or walk-ups.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think people will be moving back into cities as gas goes up and up and up. And, you were talking earlier that Obama's going to have to concentrate on foreign policy if we're not careful. That war with Iran is going to mean that everybody is reluctant to pay $10 gas, and we all move back into Lansing.
Well, even without a war with Iran, which is going to be horrible if it happens. Even without that, millennials and younger people don't feel the need for cars and that kind of thing.
They may never be able to afford one.
That too. I mean, with the economy, that's part of their generation. A lot of them are more environmentally conscious too. So I think that we are going to see a lot more young people moving back into cities, and that might be what brings cities back, as well as there's a lot of new green technology coming about. I strongly recommend reading anything from treehugger.com because it's got tons of examples of new green technology that's coming out. There's there's a new way to create biodiesel through basically recycling sewage, and it gives you, instead of a very low return, basically they convert lipids from the sewage and the waste. There's a 22,000% return. It's a 98% of the sludge gets converted into biodiesel, and we've got, there's an article in there about basically they've now got solar panels that are transparent, so we can put them on windows like that.
Well,
as opposed to normal solar panels who get 20% energy, they're 20% efficient, and then these see-through ones are about 6%. So
see, I'm old and crabby, and Roman here, who is at 16 years old, has a different perspective and is optimistic and thinks he's actually going to have a real life. And I'm here to tell him it's going to be just realistic for him. Because I've been reading Bill McKibben, his 350 parts per million CO2 threshold has already been crossed, and we're now going to see a changed Earth. I've been reading Too Much Magic by Ruben Kunstler, who talks about some of these issues, and the reality is we are on a changed Earth already. We are not moving fast enough. I guess if we were all smart, what we would say is that Obama should devote his second term, if he gets one, to dealing with climate change. Because if you don't deal with that, then I think everything else sort of goes.
Well, to his credit, he's been pretty good on promoting green energy, opposing non-renewable forms of energy. He actually, the Defense Department actually just bought, I think it was 1,500 Chevy Volts.
Whoopee.
So, but
1,500 is such a drop in the bucket.
Right. Well, they're only.
They probably aren't going to use them as recruiting vehicles.
See, my My problem, Roman,
That's
is that
pretty bad.
if you look at the stats right now, we're currently at about 2% alternative energy. So if we double in the next 10 years, which is an optimistic proposal, then we're at 4%. That's not very encouraging.
Well, we doubled
Michigan's-
under President Obama's first term,
right, but I mean that's such a
and we
tough.
were in a depression.
But the point is, doubling doesn't do it. Michigan does have a ballot proposal where they want 25% green energy, and I think if they're successful in doing that, that's one heck of a target. It really is an opportunity to make a difference. But I do think we're playing a catch-up game, and it is a real problem.
You let it get too far.
Yeah.
And it's not up just to us, too. It's up to China and lots
Right.
of developing countries.
Well, how that ballot initiative works is basically in the Lower Peninsula we have two major power distributors, DTE and Consumers Energy. And what Proposal 3 will do is just require them to get 25% of their energy from renewable resources by 2025. And they're not allowed to raise rates over 1% on people. And there's actually a study from MSU that shows that it will create 94,000 new jobs and attract $10 billion to the state. And another thing with that is that, I mean, with the constitutional amendment, it guarantees companies a market in Michigan. Yeah. And so what
and
that
other
will do
states
is
around us have done it.
Yes.
And so we will
it's
fall
supposed to be
behind
around
if we
6
don't.
states in the Midwest. See, I know all this because I was just phone banking at Sierra.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the other thing, I don't know if anyone saw the articles over the weekend on the Great Lakes, which is a near record low.
Yeah.
1964. We probably are going to go at a record low this year.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
And
scary.
so that's the shipping problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's costly now to ship because you can't take as much load.
Well, and then the challenges with shipping like burning all those invasive species that are really threatening the lakes on top. So we're having this sort of huge disaster unfolding there. Plus, other states want their hands on their water.
Yeah, and you know, all the people that have lakefront property, it's a long way away from their cottage now.
It's a long walk to the lake.
I remember 1964 because it was we always remember it as the year you couldn't go swimming anymore. You'd have to walk because like on Lake Huron where I was, you'd have to walk for about a half mile where the water was deep enough. You were like waving at the shipping channel.
So it's best to be a treasure hunter now.
Oh yeah, go out and get one of those. My dad had one, left it to me, and I found out but he didn't even need the electrical chargers, so it's
You can probably buy the charger on eBay.
I looked. It's that old that you can.
But that's one thing that happens. You find old wrecks and
Yes.
stuff that's all of a sudden surface.
Well, you know, Roman was talking about Consumers Energy, and I remember back in the days when it was called Consumers Power. I worked there for 6 years, and my theory was that, you know, I would ask engineers, so how is it really that electricity works? And they kind of go, yeah. And I figured they just drained it out of their people. I know they drained it out of me. I figured they must have some sort of special plug in the chair I was sitting in, because by the end of the day, I just wanted it out of there. And it was just your typical big bureaucracy, big corporate bureaucracy. And, you know, energy is going to be a real issue here.
Well, I think we got a hint of it this summer. Anyone that was trying to run air conditioning figured out what it really cost.
See, I just don't think you're reading enough Tree Hugger, Bonnie.
I think you're not reading enough of the deep green resistance. These are the people who say, abandon all and let's go out. And if you're not laying in front of a tank somewhere that's coming in to build a new nuclear plant, then you're not doing your job. I think we've got to step up our game here. You know, Obama keeps saying, if you want something done, you're going to have to make us do it. And you're doing it because your generation is very good at this. They really do. They volunteer.
Well, just as a quick plug, if you want green energy, then you can make money on it.
Tell us, let's ask Roman now, how did you get that passed? You got a resolution passed at Lansing City Council where they've gone on record saying that they want to see money out of politics.
Well, it took me, our Lansing Move to Amend started 7 months ago in February it was February 12th of this year, and, you know, it happened after, David Cobb, the national spokesperson for Move to Amend, came down and gave a talk in January. I was an occupier at that time, and so eventually I just decided, you know, the reason I was occupying was because of, money in politics, and so eventually I just decided to start the local affiliate. And so it's taken 7 months now for me to figure out, you know, how the legalities of how to pass a resolution, building the momentum to do it, and that's what I think it's about is you have to have at least soft support for something like this to get passed.
But the vote was unanimous, right?
It was unanimous.
I'm amazed, frankly.
I mean,
congratulations.
Yeah.
Because generally that council can't vote unanimous on anything. I mean, it's pretty
Just
amazing.
ask the
I mean, it
average
shows-
college.
I mean,
Bike
it shows
paths,
how
I mean,
Yeah, right.
just go on and on.
The sun will come up tomorrow. No, we're going to let that down. Yeah.
well, I mean, it shows how much this issue just hits everybody. I mean, it comes down to simply the question of how we are to govern as a country.
Yeah.
Should it be about ideas or should it be about money?
Yeah.
And
We should be in a debate on tomorrow.
Yeah, Wednesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what he needs to say.
Yeah.
Obama needs to say if that comes up. Those kind of things. He needs to be that clear, that short.
Right.
And
Right.
just a quick note, the city council voted unanimously, the mayor supported it too, and the Ingham County Board of Commissioners also voted on the same night and voted on 12-1 with two of the Republicans voting no and one of them voting yes.
Wow, it's
So,
amazing.
There are Republicans out there who completely agree with us, and we need to get the money out of politics, and the best way to do that is with a constitutional amendment to say that corporations are not people and money is not speech. And the reason we need to do a constitutional amendment is because any law that we try to pass to limit the spending of corporations and people with more wealth than everybody else in the country, they get overturned because of the Supreme Court, which hopefully will change for the second.
One of the things I have to give you so much credit for, woman, is that at 16 years old, I see you putting in these long days and long hours doing this kind of work to slog through to get a resolution passed in Lansing, and it takes that kind of work to build a coalition for support. I think too many of your peers think that clicking a like button on Facebook is enough, and that it's going to make a real difference. And that's a beginning, but it's not enough. It takes the kind of in the trenches work that you're doing. I mean, it took you a long time to build support. I remember how long ago was it? You said, "Well, tonight will be the night."
Yeah, I said that at least 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
That tonight would be the night, and I learned a lot about how city councils work, and at first there was admittedly pushback from, there was concerns about the language of the resolution being too strong, and it completely assumed already that corporations were people and money is speech, but right away after I explained it to them, they got the concept, and we only changed the resolution on September 24th when it was voted on, is that instead of saying that corporations are not people in any aspect of the law, which needs to happen, they said that in the context of campaign finance, corporations are not people. Which I'm absolutely, completely proud of the accomplishment there with passing the resolution with that language that it has. But we need to understand that corporations are not people in any aspect of the law. And they've used this legal argument to fight environmental regulation and basically declare personhood when it's convenient, and then when it's not convenient, they declare that they're not people. And actually, there will be a U.S. Supreme Court case in October. Shell is under investigation for helping, or basically trying to oppose peaceful protests, and we'll see whether corporations can be tried for genocide. That kind of thing at the U.S.
And then
Supreme
you
Court.
can execute them. Texas should execute a few corporations.
Well, I think even different than that. Why we have a 13th Amendment in this country, and corporations have constitutional rights. And so, if slavery is illegal, then why can we own corporations?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Honestly, I want one of the strategies for this movement to be challenging just the ridiculousness of the Supreme Court's decision by legal challenges. Like, I think a group of lawyers should try to argue that in a court.
Well, we'll see, because I think, again, we talked about how if the current composition of the Supreme Court remains the same, it's a very corporate-friendly court, and it might be the wrong time. But these cases take years to grind up there. So.
Well, I mean, it took years to make or codify corporate personhood in the U.S. law, because it didn't only begin in
I know.
Citizens United. It was Santa Clara, the Southern Pacific Railroad Company, which the court reporter knew people who worked at the corporation that was being tried, and basically wrote into the argument that because corporations are people, they have free speech rights, and they have 14th Amendment rights. And this happened in the late 1800s.
Many years ago, I was very fortunate to give Barry Commoner a ride from the airport to Lansing, our campus, where he was giving a speech. I remember him saying that there's nothing wrong with capitalism and corporatism as long as you restrain it properly. And he said, instead of saying that corporations' only goal should be to make a profit for its stockholders, it should be within the context of bettering society. If you just added those words, if you made those changes and you thought about it in terms
at one point,
environment and you thought of it in terms of environment and labor, that would change the ballgame astronomically in terms of the responsibilities of corporations. Right now, a corporation that tries to do too much to control its emissions at the expense of profits literally could be sued by its stockholders for not upholding its legal responsibility. So it's a very slippery slope we're on if we don't get some legal changes.
Yeah, that's another Supreme Court doctrine that corporations are legally obligated to benefit their shareholders. And then
it's their sole purpose.
Right. And there was a Court of Appeals case, I believe it was in Arizona in 1809, that a corporation was refused a charter because they couldn't prove the public good. And that's, corporations used to be heavily regulated.
Yeah.
Well, this gives us a good segue into the book show, because this weekend I'm going to be looking for an Edward Abbey Monkey Wrench game.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
The one that's got Robert Crumb illustrated.
Oh.
So how much do you think I'll have to pay for that, Ray? It's not as much as the first edition by any means.
I don't know, maybe $100.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
Oh wow, that sounds like a bargain to me.
It is. Oh, it could be. Yeah.
Well, that's half the fun of going to a show like this, is looking for stuff.
See, I saw one there a few years ago for like $30, $35. And I went back, and it wasn't there. That quickly. Whoops.
So you do have to, when you go to the show on Saturday and Sunday?
Just one day. It's
just one day.
Sunday, October 7th. Starts at 9:30 and goes to 5 p.m.
Okay.
It's at the Lansing Center. It's the 56th Michigan Antiquarian Book and Paper Show.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be about 65 dealers from 8 states and Canada setting up there. And there's lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff, but you better grab it quick, because when you've got a real bargain, you need to get back before it's gone.
There'll be first editions, and there'll be hardbacks, and there'll be some paperbacks. There's lots of other things like posters and football programs, a lot of postcards and other paper things like railroad timetables, automobile brochures, maps.
I could get some railroad timetables for my husband. He's a big train geek.
Well, there's going to be stuff there.
No, those are fun.
Yeah.
The train collectible at that show is pretty amazing.
Is it?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people come there looking for trains and transportation.
And also old photographs.
Really? Oh, cool.
Looking for things, particularly the real photo postcards. And of course, this time of year, you're going to see a lot of that political stuff too.
Oh, the old political memorabilia?
Yeah, from everything from bumper stickers to posters, from pamphlets to brochures, newspaper headlines, all sorts of different things.
Oh, cool. So it's at the Lansing Center.
Lansing Center, 333 East Michigan Avenue. It's about a couple blocks before the Capitol, next to the Cooley Law School Stadium.
Across the street from Omar's.
Yes, well,
that's the landmark. That's just put that into MapQuest and we'll get you
there. There is that. It starts at 9:30. There is an admission charge. It starts at 9:30 and it goes until 5 o'clock. A couple suggestions: wear comfortable shoes, not necessarily carpeted. Bring a checkbook or cash. A lot of places don't take credit cards at the show.
I see. ATM close by, I hope?
There's one in the lobby. Last time they ran out of money.
Oh, really? Did they really?
Well, it does happen.
That's a good sign, though.
Yes. We expect to pay for parking. Actually, the parking fee is more than the admission to the show.
Big city.
Yeah, big city. And we'll come early.
It's now the Avenue.
Come early and park on the streets if you want. This time there's no race we're competing with. Sometimes there's a 500K race. 5K race.
Not
I was going to say 500K.
Whoa.
Wow.
5K race, and we're unfortunately not doing that. We have these shows twice a year. We've been doing it for almost 25 years now, or a little bit more than that. And it's one of the biggest shows in the country.
I went last year and it was just delightful. I mean, there was so much to see. I
It's a little
walked
bit
around.
unusual.
It's like a carnival.
It
I
is,
mean, there's an
yeah.
atmosphere there that's pretty electric.
There's chairs to sit down, and it's handicap accessible, and they have food and beverages on the premises. And it's just it's a unique way to escape. And there's a lot. You see a lot of friends. There's a lot of people lined up.
Yeah.
We usually get over 1,000 people attending the show.
Wow.
It's a big show. There's about 175, 185 tables of stuff for sale. These are 8-foot tables. And there's some piled high. There'll be everything from original prints and original paintings. But it's not all just expensive stuff. There's a lot of cheap stuff too.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Is
postcards
this
are-
walk-in registration?
well, you don't have to register. You have to buy a ticket at the door. And there's long lines initially, but that's just when the doors open. We open 8 doors at once and everybody flows in and we tell them, don't run.
I'm on a new quest this year. I started collecting postcards from all the Carnegie libraries in Michigan.
Really?
And I generally can get those.
Not a
Really
reasonable
I
expensive.
saw people standing for a long time going through postcard after postcard. I mean, they really just, and that's a fun thing you can do. It's not much money to spend. but you can
Postcards
go home with
is a very
interesting
cheap
stuff.
hobby.
Yeah.
But they can be expensive too. There's some postcards that can be $40 to $50
Really?
per card.
Give me an example.
Well, we have one, I think, at Archives where we sell a lot of the photo postcards, and we have 45,000 cards there. And we're going to be bringing every darn postcard to the show. We have some postcards from Michigan cities that show storefronts or horse and carriages in front of it.
Oh,
And there's one postcard we have of that has a biplane that's and a boat, but the plane is kind of dragging the boat, and vice versa. And it's a kind of unusual. I know we've got some postcards from small towns, and people like to see what these storefronts look like, like DeWitt or St. John's.
yeah, I've never thought about that, but I'm assuming that the digital age. I used to work many years ago, 1970, for a company called Duquesne Press in Hollywood Beach, Florida, that ran a postcard division. I don't think there are postcard companies anymore.
Well, there still are.
Are there?
Not that many of them, but
Because
still are.
everybody's got a cell phone.
Right.
You create your own
And they just share
postcard.
the.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's lots of people that like postcards and pamphlets and everything, all the cookbooks and cooking material, recipes, the movie star items, and everything from Elvis and Marilyn Monroe. Some of the older football programs and baseball items. Some of the people are worrying what's going to happen if the Tigers actually win because there may be a game competition. We don't know what's happening. So,
Really?
Oh my gosh, yes, that's right. They'll be playing.
Yes, they probably will be.
Ray, I know you probably don't want me to ask this, but I know you're going to be. You usually sell Playboys,
Well,
Oh,
collectibles, but this year you'll probably bring the one that your store's in. I want you.
Oh,
Well,
that's right. Yes.
the current issue, the October issue, has Girls in the Big Ten, and they did a shoot of one of the young women at the shop.
She was a cover front page story on the
Yes,
state
she was.
news.
Right, she's a communications major.
Yes, yes.
She was communicating
Trust
clearly.
me, there are so many absolutely stunning women on campus. They could just stop every other woman and shoot her for Playboy.
Ray and I had an interesting experience about where do you find Playboy? Tell the story,
It's
Ray.
difficult trying to it's challenging to find copies of Playboy because Shirley's doesn't carry it.
Really?
The 7-Eleven doesn't carry it.
You're kidding.
No.
You can't find it.
Basically, it was a real
No wonder
very
they're
difficult. I did find some copies at Barnes & Noble, but they wouldn't hold any copies for us. We got Playboy.
What Barnes and Noble?
The one out near the Lansing Mall.
Oh.
And we tried to get them. There was another couple different party stores. We found out one of the local distributors had gone out of business, so they could give us a July issue, but we didn't really want a July issue.
Tells you a little. There's something you can learn from
We
that
did.
story.
We called the local book distributor, and they said they didn't know who distributed magazines. We did end up. Odie's Party Store had some. They were nice enough to save one for us. Bill bought that copy.
I bought one today, and I haven't.
Is it this month's issue, the one that's out on the
Right,
shelves
it's
now?
October, and I can tell you I haven't bought one in a while because I didn't realize there's $7.
What?
$6
Really?
That's a lot for nudity.
Wow.
$7.
Wow.
I was like, oh, and it's thin. It's really thin.
Very,
Is it
very
thin? Yeah.
thick paper.
So who was the interview this time?
Lee
Lee
Child.
Child.
Oh, was it? You just saw him.
Yep, just saw him. Right.
Oh, interesting.
Now, see, I am going to read the Playboy.
Well,
You know, it's funny how everybody says that. Back to the interview.
Well, I suppose hustler's completely out of the question. Then.
I
You can't get one of those without signing away your life.
I haven't even any clue if it's in business anymore.
Is what?
Hustlers.
Oh, I have no idea.
No idea.
Sometimes there are things we don't follow.
I do because an old friend of mine, Ray Gibson, who was the art director for our magazine, said that he turned down a job at Hustler magazine because he didn't like the color pink well enough. It was a great line. So, yes. But I was just thinking today, I'm doing a free speech thing, and I'm going to include Larry Flint.
Larry Flint, right?
Famous for upholding our willing to go to court to uphold free speech.
The woman who was there is not going to be signing copies. It's not antiquarian. It's not old.
Oh,
She's too young
to
be an antiquarian.
Is she going to do any signings?
Well, we're trying to arrange one at Cheers, but we haven't really set that up yet. It'll be kind of fun to do.
May I ask, did she divulge, or is it common knowledge what Playboy?
I believe they paid either $500 for $250 or $500 for was the fee that she was.
What?
And they retain the rights, obviously. So if she ever becomes famous, you can count on being paraded out.
That's staggeringly low.
Well, they also took up photos from a lot of different people. She was the one that was chosen. That's not. I don't think that's just for the appearance. They pay the people to take photos of them.
I see. I see.
Without any guarantees.
I didn't read the article on her. Did she say why she did this? Because a lot of co-eds probably think twice about having that on their resume.
I think
that when you Google this would come up first.
The article's still on statenews.com with photos.
Okay.
And
including ones from Playboy.
Photos. She was very nice, and I was there during the photography session, but unfortunately was not able to. Maybe not unfortunately, but it was not. It was down an aisle, and but I had a couple of women employees there. They had two photographers and.
Did they use locals or freelancers or?
They came out of Chicago.
In fact, I think the same team, when I was looking at, shoots the entire weekend.
Yes, right.
Oh, that's right.
They get some sort of continuity.
It may have been 8 years since the last one. Either 4 or 8 years.
Oh, has it been that long?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
They don't do it on
no idea.
Basis.
Oh, they do other conferences around the country? Or?
They do other, no, I'm not sure.
Or are the women of the Big Ten just so gorgeous that they only
they do they do that, the Pacific and whatever.
But they also, I think, do police women and various other things.
They do the groups of women in various industries who then soon get fired. That's the, they can't kick you out of MSU for it, but I mean, you've seen police officers and teachers, and so their careers go, the ones they do. We're still a prudish culture. So.
Oh, absolutely. But you think 40 years ago, you would have been kicked out of MSU probably.
That could well be.
I mean, women still had hours. They sent postcards when they went home, to their parents.
Well, I spent this morning, I don't know why it came up, but I spent this morning watching film clips from Olivia de Havilland's Snake Pit. The old movie. Whoa. When husbands could still consign their wives to mental institutions just on their own say-so. And I thought, we have come a way since then, so women's rights are a little better than they were.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, get away from the book show.
Liberated.
Well, see, that's what books do. They take you places you never expected.
And want to go.
Yeah.
But you've done, you're also looking at all those places where authors have come from.
Right. And I think that's an important thing. I mean, I've got a kind of a litany of 150 Michigan authors and where they came from, what their relationship was to the community they lived in. It's just fun to see where an author lived.
So much of the stuff that we see at the show does seem Michigan-based.
Well, there's a lot of interest in Michigan authors like Hemingway and Jim Harrison, James Oliver Curwood. But they also like authors like Fitzgerald and Steinbeck, a lot of the classic authors. Some people aren't aware how much a dust jacket adds to the value of a book. We have a Tarzan of the Apes, the first edition's worth maybe $1,000 or $2,000. But the first edition and the jacket sold for $41,000. And the jacket's worth more than the book.
That's what happens with The Great Gatsby, too.
Right.
I mean, if you can have a first edition that'll sell for a few $1,000s, a pristine jacket takes it, 50, 60 grand?
So it's really remarkable.
Because they're so rare.
Rare. Well, first of all, people used to take them off.
Right.
My grandmother did that.
And they threw them away.
I take it off when I read it.
Well,
They never put it back on.
one fun thing, years ago I bought out an estate, they had, books were on shelves without jackets. And I said, gee, that's kind of interesting, not a jacket in sight. Oh, we've got the jackets, and they opened up a dresser's drawer.
Right, that's right.
And there was full of dust jackets for the books.
Yeah.
And I said, wow. And they had jackets, they didn't have the books. The daughter had taken some of the books, and they said, wonderful dust jackets.
Wow.
So that's kind of a fine dump.
That's a great thing to be able to do. Yeah, that's wonderful.
And people are also looking for autographs. So there'll be autograph books from people like Robert Frost and Robert Traver and various other collectible authors. So
well, I encourage everybody who is someday available to go down to the Lansing Center and check out the Antiquarian Book and Paper Show. And thank you to Ray Walsh for being here, and thank you to Roland Collins for Move to Amend. And tune in next Monday night for Lansing Online News Radio. This is WLNZ 89.7 here in Lansing, Michigan. I actually do. Right, with 3 seconds to spare. Yeah, amazing.